Hello YouTube, this video is a deck review of the Next World Tarot by Cristy C. I would say this is definitely the 2018 QTPOC Tarot of the year. So if you are a queer or trans person of color, or you want a gift for someone, 100% recommend this deck. I don't have the box out, it's just a tuck box. This is the image on it, it's the Justice card. Is actually the image that's on the tuck box, so it looks like that. The little white book, little black book, is super helpful for this one because there are definitely a lot of changes from what you might be familiar with, so renamed majors, but also just a lot, I think, of the definitions are reworked to fit the theme of the deck, to fit the energy of the deck. So this deck is super revolutionary. It's about justice. It's about where we are right now in this kind of cultural moment, and so all of the cards are really rethought in a way that is more familiar to marginalized people, living right now. So you'll find a lot of gems in this book. I definitely would recommend going through the whole thing. These are the card backs. They are not reversible, which I actually didn't know that's the whole thing about the backs being reversible or not reversible. I didn't know at first, but I had this intuitive feeling not to read these reversed, and it turns out that is in fact what that card back is supposed to mean. They are shiny finish, and you can see that, like, this is my hand, they are quite large, so they are a little bit challenging to shuffle, but I like the size because, as you can see, the images are really big, so there's like a lot of detail in them, and I think the size of the image is actually important to be able to capture that much detail. I'm going to actually show you, instead of just flipping through randomly, I've put intentionally some particular cards on the top here to show you some of my favorites, and also some that I just think are really interesting the way they're reworked. So the majors, you can see you've got the title at the top, and then down at the bottom, each of the majors has a planet on the right there, and then on the left, you have an element and you have a sign. So that's true for each of the majors. I wanted to start with this magician because I just love this figure so much. So you'll see, of course, tons of diversity in this deck. I mean, it's all queer and trans people of color, hijabi, black, brown, disabled, tons of queer people, just like really stunning representation. You'll also see like a lot of the details are really interesting. So if you squint at any like books or pamphlets that you see, they will have titles. So you see this person is looking at feminist theory and herbal medicine, drinking a cup of coffee and writing in a notebook there, under the Brooklyn Bridge. These are all, I'm pretty sure, real people in New York that rode, got the artwork from, or had model rather for the artwork. So I think that's really cool. So some of the majors are renamed. The teacher is what's typically the emperor, and it has a totally different meaning, I think. If you look at the book, it's all about study and like having been through some shit, understanding things, but you can see again this bridge called my back, so I think it's kind of awesome that you can get all those little details in. I love the revolution card. So this is, instead of the tower, you have revolution. I think that's super apropos for this particular deck. There's lots of references to specific political movements in here. So we've got defend the sacred, no blood for oil. Like, there's a lot of native and POC-led movements represented. This is my favorite card in the whole deck. I actually got an art print of this to put on my wall, the Lovers. I'm just so obsessed with the fact, so you've got this figure, this femme figure with a visible disability with a cane, and then you've got themselves coming out of the mirror to give them spoons. Like, this is just so freaking good. I cannot handle it. This is why it's going on my wall. Then I wanted to show the aces and the courts, rather than having the correspondences at the bottom, they each have a little title at the bottom. So all of the aces, let me lay them out, all of the aces are roots. So you have, my favorite is the swords, I just love that, Swiss Army knife. Roots of action for the swords, roots of fire for the wands, earth for the pentacles, and then water. So still very detailed images, but you have that kind of ace look of the single focal point. And then the pages are each a home. So we have the home of ideas there, the home of fire, home of expression, and then the home of action. So these go, you can see with the aces. So I think that's kind of like, it creates some continuity between the aces and the courts there. And then when you go to knights, it's a little different. You have the fire starter, the methodical approach, the love song, and the escape plan. So it's kind of a cool way of thinking at it. They're all sort of an approach for the knights. And then queens are the thrones. So throne of sanctuary. Love that card. Throne of sanctuary. Throne of truth. Throne of emotion. Again, you cannot get more fabulous than that in a tarot deck. And throne of determination. And then finally the kings are also thrones, but they're a little different. So for pentacles, you have sanctuary, and then you have security. You have, where are we? Determination, and then you have fire. Sorry, fire. We've got emotion and movement, which is movement. I love that King of Cups. And then truth and knowledge. So each kind of court couple there represents two different sides of the suit, which I think is a really neat idea. And the courts are just some of my favorite. They're also really easy to associate. If you have trouble with courts, I think these are actually really helpful. Now, just some of the minors that I like or find interesting. So I think this is Two of Pentacles. It's interesting that the keyword is intersection instead of, say, balance or something like that. And I just really like that image as well. Two of Cups is just the best couple in the deck. Look at these folks. And I also really like the Three of Cups. Sometimes the Three of Cups, to me, I can feel kind of guilty. It's like, oh, I don't have enough community or enough friendship or whatever it is. And I love that this person is surrounded by animals. That's just so perfect to me. It's like, you don't need to have a big group of friends to be Three of Cups. You can chill with the animals. This one came up in a reading recently for me, and I found it really interesting. So the keyword here is turmoil, and you have this little kid sitting on boxes. And so the theme of this is, it's a very different image for the Five of Pentacles, and the theme of this is that she's moving away from the home she's always known. But there's a lot of resilience in this card, sort of a feeling of hope even with the sun setting on her current life and everything that's difficult. This five, also the Five of Wands. So the keyword is strife, but if you look at that image, I think strife, you might kind of be like, what's going on here? And so the book kind of clarifies this. The five harnesses this battle, aligning work with safety and struggle with healing. She asks you to consider what collaboration looks like to you. So that's just part of the description for this. But I like how it's this kind of forward moving from the point of strife. Here's a Six of Cups reunion. That's another one I just really like the image of. Same for this. So I like that the Six of Pentacles is redistribution rather than like charity or giving and taking, specifically redistribution, which is really important in the anti-racist kind of socialist politics, redistributing wealth. Then Seven of Cups. I think this is interesting because it's usually like choices and lots of stuff kind of arranged to indicate choices. And this one is imagination. So it still has the same meaning, but it's all about thinking about the different resources you have and understanding them and being creative. It's a slightly different twist. This one to me is more sort of exactly what I would expect for a Seven of Wands, but I love the image of this figure just standing her ground, sitting there with her candles in front of the fascist police behind her. Seven of Swords, kind of more positive version of Seven of Swords again. Like, I like how a lot of these figures, they're very resilient, you know, they're, again, like escape, they're leaving something difficult, but you have a lot of strength represented in the images. Eight of Wands, this is just another figure I really like. And then finally, before this gets too long, I will show you, so definitely does not beat around the bush. You know, the hard cards are hard, and this is something, if you're familiar with Cristy Rhodes' art, like this is actually the kind of thing that I expect from Cristy, and so it was interesting to see some of the more like positive images or the gentler images, but like this is very classic. So yeah, that is the Next World Tarot by Cristy C. Rhodes. Thanks so much for watching.